Have you ever felt the desperate, burning urge to explain your side of the story? To shout into the void that you are not the person they think you are? We live in an age of constant justification, where every misunderstanding feels like an existential threat to our identity. Every word we speak is a brick in the wall we build around our reputation, hoping to keep the judgment of others at bay. But what if the most powerful thing you could do was to simply let them be wrong? Imagine the weight falling off your shoulders as you realize that their perception is not your reality. In the next few minutes, we will explore the radical, hidden power of choosing silence over defense. We will uncover why your ego is your greatest jailer, locking you in a cell of constant reaction, and how the strongest version of yourself is the one who no longer needs to be understood by everyone. Welcome to the sanctuary of the undefended self. There is a quiet, terrifying strength in the man who remains silent while others scream for an explanation. He does not fight the storm. He simply exists within it, untouched by the lightning of public opinion. Most of our mental energy is consumed by invisible courtrooms, where we are both the defendant and the lawyer. We argue against ghosts, trying to convince people who have already made up their minds. But the moment you stop defending yourself, you become a ghost to their weapons. They can no longer wound you because you have removed the target they were aiming for. This is not about weakness or submission. This is about the ultimate form of self-mastery. It is the realization that your truth does not require a witness to be valid. By the end of this journey, you will see that the loudest person in the room is often the most fragile, and the one who says nothing is often the one who holds all the cards. Let us begin the process of dismantling the defense and reclaiming your peace.
The root of our constant need to defend ourselves lies in a deep-seated psychological insecurity. We have been conditioned to believe that our value is tied to how others perceive us. From the time we are children, we are taught to explain our mistakes and justify our existence to authority figures. This creates a neural pathway that equates silence with guilt and defense with innocence. But in the adult world, this survival mechanism becomes a psychological trap. When someone insults you or misinterprets your actions, your brain perceives it as a physical attack. Your heart rate spikes, your breath becomes shallow, and the ego rushes to the front lines to protect its territory. We are addicted to the hit of dopamine we get when we think we have won an argument. Yet, have you ever noticed that even after you prove someone wrong, you still feel drained and hollow? That is because you have traded your inner peace for a momentary victory in a game that doesn't matter. The economic reality of our attention economy thrives on this friction.
Social media platforms are designed to trigger your defensive instincts, forcing you to engage in endless loops of clarification. Every time you reply to a critic, you are paying them with the currency of your life force. You are telling them that their opinion of you is more important than your own state of mind. We are terrified that if we don't speak up, the lie will become the truth. But truth is not a consensus. It is an objective reality that requires no defense to exist. The sun does not argue with the clouds when they block its light. It simply waits, knowing that the clouds are temporary and its own nature is eternal. Our desperate need for validation is the chain that keeps us anchored to the moods of other people. Until you break that chain, you will never be free to pursue your true purpose. You will be too busy managing the image of yourself in the minds of others to actually live your life.
The first major realization is that silence is not a void. It is a profound source of power. In the history of human conflict, the greatest strategists knew that the one who reacts is the one who is controlled. When you defend yourself, you are following the script written by your opponent. You are dancing to their rhythm, responding to their provocations, and entering their frame of reality. But when you refuse to defend, you remain the master of your own frame. Consider the philosophy of Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor who faced betrayals and insults on a daily basis. He wrote that the best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury.
By not reacting, you demonstrate a level of self-assurance that is far more intimidating than any verbal retort. Silence signals to the world that you are so grounded in your own truth that the opinions of others cannot reach you. It creates a psychological vacuum that the other person is forced to fill with their own insecurity. When you don't offer a defense, the attacker is left holding their own anger, with nowhere to project it. They expect a fight, but they find only a mirror. This is why silence is often perceived as arrogance by the weak, but as wisdom by the strong. It is the refusal to participate in a race to the bottom. In modern psychology, this is known as the gray rock method, becoming as uninteresting and non-responsive as a pebble. When you stop giving people the emotional reaction they crave, they eventually lose interest in attacking you. You become a fortress that cannot be breached because there are no doors to kick down. You are not hiding. You are simply unavailable for low-level vibrations. This realization allows you to conserve your energy for things that actually move the needle in your life. While others are exhausted by the friction of social combat, you are building your empire in the quiet.
The second insight is counterintuitive. The more you explain, the less you are heard. There is a psychological phenomenon where providing a defense actually reinforces the negative perception in the mind of the accuser. When you offer a but or a because, you are implicitly accepting the premise of their accusation. You are validating their right to judge you. If someone calls you a liar and you spend an hour proving you are honest, you have spent an hour acting like someone who is afraid of being seen as a liar. The energy of the defense carries the scent of guilt, regardless of the facts. True authority doesn't explain itself. A king doesn't ask for permission to rule, and a lion doesn't explain its hunger to the prey. When you move through the world without the need to justify your path, people instinctively sense your strength. They stop questioning you because they see that your internal compass is set, and it doesn't wobble based on their feedback. This strategy is about reclaiming the power of the unsaid. There is a weight to the words of a person who speaks rarely and never in self-defense. When they do speak, their words land like stones in a still pond, creating ripples that last long after the sound has faded. By contrast, the person who is always defending themselves is like a leaky faucet, constantly dripping and eventually ignored. You must learn to trust that the truth will outlast the lie. It may take weeks, months, or even years, but the integrity of your character is a long-term investment. Short-term defenses are often just distractions from long-term growth. If you are doing the work and living with honor, your life itself becomes the only defense you will ever need. Stop trying to win the argument of the day and start winning the character of a lifetime. This is the shift from being a reactor to being a creator. The climax of the problem is the spiritual and psychological cost of a life spent in defense. If you live your life constantly looking over your shoulder, waiting for the next critique, you are not truly living. You are performing. You are a puppet whose strings are pulled by anyone with an opinion. The severe consequence of ignoring the power of non-defense is the total loss of the self. You become a hollow shell, a collection of reactions and justifications with no core of your own. You lose the ability to hear your own intuition because the noise of the courtroom is too loud. This leads to a deep sense of resentment and burnout. You will find yourself angry at the world for not understanding you, when in reality, you were the one who gave them the power to define you. The ultimate tragedy is reaching the end of your life and realizing you spent all your time defending a person you never actually became. You were so busy being not wrong that you forgot to be right with yourself. But there is a different way. It is the path of the master who knows that his reputation is none of his business. It is the freedom of being okay with being the villain in someone else's story as long as you are the hero in your own.
When you stop defending, you reclaim all that wasted energy and pour it back into your craft, your family, and your soul. You become unshakable. You become a lighthouse. It doesn't ring bells or fire cannons to get attention, it just shines. Ships find their way because of its consistency, not because of its explanation. Let go of the need to be right in the eyes of the blind. Embrace the silence. Walk your path with such conviction that your presence alone is the answer to every question. This is the hidden power. This is the end of the war. You are finally free.
To understand why we feel the visceral urge to defend ourselves, we must look deep into the primordial architecture of the human psyche. Our ancestors lived in a world where social exclusion was a death sentence, and a challenge to one's reputation was a challenge to one's survival. When someone criticizes or insults you today, your brain does not distinguish between a verbal barb and a physical spear. Your amygdala fires with the same intensity as if a predator were stalking you through the tall grass. This is why your heart races, your palms sweat, and your throat tightens when you are accused of something unfairly. Your ego perceives this as a threat to your social standing, which it equates with your literal existence. Deep psychology reveals that when we defend ourselves, we are actually trying to preserve an internal self-image that we fear is fragile. We react because we subconsciously believe that the other person's words have the power to change who we are. If we truly knew our own worth, no external noise could possibly rattle the foundation of our being. Most people spend their entire lives in this reactive state, bouncing like pinballs between the opinions of others. They are puppets, and whoever insults them holds the strings. By refusing to defend yourself, you are cutting those strings once and for all. You are signaling to your own subconscious that the predator in front of you has no teeth. You are teaching your nervous system that words are merely vibrations in the air, incapable of harming the essence of your soul. This behavior is rare because it requires the override of millions of years of evolution. It is the ultimate act of psychological rebellion against the primitive brain. When you stop reacting, you are no longer a victim of biology. You become a master of consciousness. You begin to see that most people who attack you are simply projecting their own internal chaos onto you. Their anger is a mirror of their own inadequacy, not a window into your character. By staying silent, you refuse to step into their mirror, leaving them to face their own reflection alone. There is a rare insight that society rarely discusses because it makes most people uncomfortable. The truth is that most arguments are not about facts, they are about energy and dominance. When someone attacks you, they are often starving for a reaction to validate their own existence. They want to feel that they have power over your emotional state. By defending yourself, you are actually giving them exactly what they want, a feast of your energy. You are feeding their ego and confirming that their opinion is significant enough to warrant a response. The elephant in the room that experts ignore is that silence is the most aggressive stance you can possibly take. It is aggressive because it denies the attacker the satisfaction of impact. Imagine throwing a heavy stone into a pond and seeing no ripples whatsoever. It would be unnerving, perhaps even terrifying. When you offer no defense, you become that motionless pond. The person attacking you is forced to sit in the vacuum of their own hostility. Without your reaction to bounce off of, their anger has nowhere to go but back into themselves. Society teaches us that standing up for ourselves means shouting back louder, but that is a low-level strategy for the weak. The truly powerful understand that true dominance is found in total self-containment. People will call you cold, or arrogant, or strange because they cannot handle the lack of feedback. They are used to the push and pull of social conflict, and you have just removed the rope. This insight reveals that you don't need to win the argument if you never accept the invitation to the fight. In the kingdom of the mind, the person who needs nothing from the other is the one who holds all the cards.
Your refusal to explain yourself is a declaration that your truth is not up for debate. It is a quiet, devastating realization for those who thrive on drama and control.
So how do we apply this hidden power in the messy reality of everyday life? The first practical step is the 3-second rule of silence. When someone delivers a slight or a criticism, wait exactly 3 seconds before making any movement or sound. During these 3 seconds, observe the physical sensations in your body without judging them. Feel the heat in your chest or the tension in your jaw, and let it dissolve like smoke. Next, implement the neutral eye contact technique. Look the person in the eyes with a soft, relaxed gaze. Not a glare, but a look of mild curiosity. This tells the other person that you have heard them, but you have not been penetrated by them. If you must speak, use the validation without agreement strategy. You might say, "I see that you're very passionate about this," and then say nothing else. Do not explain your actions, do not justify your choices, and do not apologize for things you haven't done wrong. In a professional setting, if someone tries to undermine you, ask a single clarifying question. What is the outcome you're looking for with that comment? This forces them to explain their hostility, effectively turning the spotlight back onto their behavior. From a Stoic perspective, remind yourself that you only have a limited amount of fucks to give each day. Every time you defend yourself against a triviality, you are spending your life force on a ghost. Save that energy for your craft, your family, and your personal growth. Physically, practice keeping your hands open and relaxed when in a conflict. Clenched fists signal to your brain that you are in a fight. Open palms signal to your nervous system that you are safe and in control. Start small. The next time a stranger cuts you off in traffic or a relative makes a snide remark, do absolutely nothing. Watch how the world doesn't end, and notice how your inner power begins to crystallize. Practical mastery is not about winning the fight. It's about making the fight irrelevant. Once you fully apply this blueprint, your reality begins to shift in profound and unexpected ways. You will notice a sensation of weightlessness that you've never experienced before. The heavy armor you've been carrying for years, the armor of pride and defensiveness, simply falls away. You will find that your relationships change almost overnight. People who used to provoke you will grow bored and move on to easier targets who offer them the drama they crave. Conversely, people of high character will be drawn to your presence, sensing a rare kind of stability and strength. You become a black hole for drama. It enters your orbit and simply disappears into the void of your composure. Your mind becomes a sanctuary rather than a battlefield.
You no longer wake up in the middle of the night rehearsing what you should have said to that coworker or friend. The past loses its grip on you because you are no longer trying to rewrite it through mental arguments. Your focus sharpens to a razor's edge because it is no longer being blunted by the friction of unnecessary conflict. This transformation is not just psychological, it is physical. Your cortisol levels drop, your sleep improves, and your posture naturally becomes more upright and commanding. You move through the world with the quiet confidence of a predator that has no need to growl. You realize that the greatest freedom in life is the freedom from the need to be understood by everyone. You are no longer a prisoner of other people's perceptions. This is the state of muga, or no mind, where you act from a place of pure being rather than reaction. You are finally the captain of your own soul, navigating through the storms of life without being tossed by the waves. The world remains the same, but in experience of it as fundamental. You have treated the cheap satisfaction.
The power of not defending yourself is ultimately the power of radical self-acceptance. It is the realization that your value is an objective fact, not a subjective consensus. When you stop fighting for your reputation, you start living for your character. Remember, The oak tree does not argue with the wind. It simply deepens its roots. The sun does not defend its light against the clouds. It simply waits to shine again. You are the oak, and you are the sun. As we close this exploration, I invite you to take this philosophy out into the world today. Next time you feel the fire of defensiveness rising in your throat, swallow it and replace it with a smile of secret knowledge. You know something they don't, that your silence is your sanctuary. If this message resonated with you, show your commitment to this path by commenting, "I am in control," below. It is a signal to yourself and this community that you are choosing the path of the master. Subscribe to join our circle of those seeking mastery over the self in an age of noise. Share this video with one person who is currently struggling with a conflict they cannot seem to win. Help them see that the way to win is to stop playing the game. Thank you for giving us your most valuable asset, your attention. Go forth today with the strength of silence and the dignity of the undefended. True power never needs to raise its voice. It simply is. Until next time, remain the observer, remain the master. Farewell.